Alan Watts knew something about this endless mental spiral, something that might finally give you permission to breathe again. You're lying in bed, scrolling through your phone at 2 a.m. You've got 17 tabs open in your mind. Tomorrow's meeting, that text you should have sent. Did you lock the door? What's everyone else doing with their lives? Why can't you just stop? Here's the thing about living in 2025. Your mind has never been more stimulated, and you've never been more anxious. We carry supercomputers in our pockets. We're connected to billions of people. We have infinite information, infinite choices, infinite ways to measure whether we're falling behind. And our minds, they're doing exactly what they've been trained to do. Think, plan, analyze, predict, protect. But somewhere along the way, thinking stopped being a tool and became a prison. Alan Watts died in 1973, decades before smartphones, before social media, before the digital age turned our brains into notification centers. But he understood something fundamental about the human mind that's more relevant now than ever. He understood that your anxiety isn't a bug, it's a feature, and the way out isn't what you think. The problem with thinking about thinking. Watts said something that sounds almost too simple. The mind cannot grasp itself any more than fire can burn itself. Think about that. Right now, you're probably trying to think your way out of overthinking. You're analyzing your anxiety, planning how to stop planning, worrying about your worry. It's like trying to bite your own teeth. You know what happens in the digital age? We've weaponized this tendency. Every productivity app promises to organize your thoughts. Every meditation app tells you to quiet your mind. Every self-help book gives you 7 steps to stop overthinking. But here's what Watts realized. You can't use the mind to fix the mind. You can't think yourself into not thinking. It's the same mechanism creating the problem and trying to solve it. And that's the trap, the illusion of control. Watts talked about what he called the backwards law, the idea that the more you try to control something, the more it controls you. When you try to force yourself to stop being anxious, what happens? The anxiety gets louder. When you try to stop overthinking, you're just thinking about overthinking. He'd say, we cannot be more sensitive to pleasure without being more sensitive to pain. In the digital age, we've been sold a lie that we can optimize everything, control everything, predict everything, that if we just think hard enough, plan well enough, consume enough information, we'll finally be safe. But life doesn't work that way. Your mind keeps spinning because it thinks if it just analyzes one more scenario, scrolls one more feed, plans one more contingency, then you'll finally be okay. But you'll never arrive at okay through thinking, because thinking is always about the future or the past, never here, never now. What Watts actually suggested. So if we can't think our way out, what do? Watts would tell you something that might sound frustrating at first. Stop trying to do anything about it, not because you're giving up, but because the trying is the problem. He used this beautiful metaphor. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. Your mind right now is like a jar of muddy water, and every time you try to fix your anxiety, stop your overthinking, control your thoughts, you're just shaking the jar more. What if you just let the jar sit, not forever, not as some superhuman achievement, just for right now, this breath, this moment. Here's how this lands in your actual life. You're scrolling Instagram at midnight, comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. Your mind is spinning. Why aren't I that successful? Why don't I have that life? What's wrong with me? The instinct is to think harder, plan harder, maybe Google how to be more successful or why am I so anxious? But Watts would say, feel your thumb on the screen, notice the light hitting your face, hear the silence around you, not as a technique to fix anything, just as a return to what's actually here. Because overthinking happens when you're living in your head about your life. Presence happens when you're living your life. Here's what Watts understood that's almost radical. You don't need to be fixed. Your anxiety isn't a malfunction. Your overthinking isn't a character flaw. It's just your mind doing what minds do, trying to protect you in a world that feels overwhelming. But you are not your mind. You're the space in which thinking happens. And when you stop identifying with every thought, every worry, every mental spiral, something shifts. Not because you conquered your mind, but because you stopped fighting it. Watts said, the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Your mind will think, that's what it does. Anxiety will visit. That's part of being human in 2025. But you don't have to believe every story it tells you. You don't have to solve every problem it invents. What this looks like, day to day. So how do you actually live this? 1. Notice the loop. When you catch yourself overthinking, don't try to stop it. Just notice. There's that thinking loop again. Like you're watching clouds pass. 2. Return to sensation. Feel your feet on the ground, your breath moving, the temperature of the air, not as a technique, just as a reminder that life is happening here, not in your head. 3rd question, the story. Your mind says, everyone's doing better than you. Watts would ask, who's the you that's behind? Who's measuring? Just that question can create space. 4. Let digital be digital. You don't have to quit social media or throw away your phone. Just remember, it's a tool, not reality. The map is not the territory. When you feel the compulsion to scroll, pause, feel what you're actually seeking. Usually, it's relief from thinking, and scrolling just gives you more to think about. 5. Trust the process. Some days you'll be present, some days you'll be in your head. Both are okay. This isn't about perfection, it's about remembering you have a choice. Alan Watts never promised that life would stop being uncertain. He never said your mind would stop thinking or that anxiety would disappear forever. But he offered something better, the reminder that you're larger than your thoughts. In this digital age, where your attention is currency and your mind is the battleground, that might be the most revolutionary thing you can remember. You are not the anxiety. You are not the overthinking. You are not the endless mental commentary about your life. You are the awareness in which all of that appears. And awareness, it doesn't need fixing, it just needs remembering. So maybe, just for now, you can let the muddy water settle. Not because you're giving up on life, but because you're finally showing up for it. If this perspective gave you even a moment of relief, subscribe so we can keep exploring this together. And if you know someone trapped in the overthinking spiral, someone who could use permission to just be, share this with them. Sometimes the most healing thing we can do is remember we're not alone in this. Thanks for being here. Really.